Welcome to LIW, the Orville Review, Episode 6 for 106 Krill. I'm Phoenix West.
Adam Wilcox.
I wanted some real awkward space in there for no reason.
Banner.
Thank you. I need banner alerts for. There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
David Banner. David Banner was here.
I forget I have to change it. I'm not.
Well, that's why I'm taking care of you, man.
I'm not a banner guy, you know.
Looking out for number one.
Damn right. Yeah. Welcome to this show. We're talking about Krill. We just finished talking about Priya, so let's talk about something that we liked. I didn't like the opening of this episode. I thought it was real stupid.
Walk us through the opening one more time, because it's been a while since I've seen
Bortis,
it.
They're all having lunch or dinner or some sort of third meal, maybe
That's right.
Taco Bell.
Okay.
And then they're eating some gelatinous thing, and then he gives it to Bortis, and he eats. What do you eat? The wrong part? I don't even fucking remember how it gets set up. It's basically just a series of them feeding him like glass and a cactus and just all this.
Because on Mocklin they can eat substances that don't have any like nutritional value or something like that. He can basically eat anything. It's one of his alien powers that they've revealed is that he can eat glass. He can eat a cactus, and they're having fun watching him eat things that people don't normally eat.
I love that you could tell they're holding the real item and they hand it to him. Oh, the first one they get him to try that's gross is a napkin. He hands him a napkin. And the camera cuts behind Bortis, and it's clearly gummy. I was like, "Come on!" And then same thing.
The sugar glass was the one that fucking got me. I'm like,
sugar glass is fucking hilarious.
I wonder what sugar glass tastes like. Don't you? Do you wonder if it has any kind of other flavor to it, or just
it's just sugar glass. It's so dumb.
Have you eaten it before?
No, never eaten it.
Okay,
I never thought to.
But aren't you curious? Just a little bit, like sugar glass.
Sure. Well, I've had like when they make cakes and they make things out of sugar. It's the same exact stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I was on a movie set and somebody wasn't looking, I'd probably grab, like, if I had to like jump through a sugar glass, like when nobody's looking, I'd be like,
you'd be the stuntman.
I would be that guy. I'd be like, holy fuck, it tastes just like sugar.
Can you not jump out the window like this? Nobody does that. It's supposed to be real glass, you realize.
Wait, don't waste that. I know a cake guy down the street. He'll pay good money for that. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the whole intro. And the only thing I liked about it was Bortis goes, "I can eat almost anything." He goes, "You can eat literally anything?" And he goes, "I can eat almost anything." He says the same thing because he doesn't want to say I don't know why I like that, but it was genuine to the character where he's like, "That's not what I said." But he doesn't say it like that, like all shitty. He just goes, "I can eat almost anything."
Almost anything. Yeah.
I had to look that deep to find something to enjoy in that scene, and that's what I got.
I was hoping that, again, that's the problem that kind of drives me nuts with these shows, is you're hoping that they're going to call that back later or put it as part of the plot. No, it's just a side thing.
The cold opens work on The Office, where it's a prank, and then you get the episode after the credits come back, and you can have a thing. But it doesn't so much work on a show like this because we're used to structure and we're used to this pays off this is setting up this. This goes fucking nowhere unless they're setting up something episodes down the line.
This show is a good example of somebody that's trying to have it both ways. It's like you can either be serious or not be serious, and it's like you want to have too much of everything but not enough of the things that count. You know what I mean? So, but this is a good episode. We're going to get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, since we're past the
getting our grievances out of the way early. Yeah.
Go ahead and set up the plot of the actual beginning plot of it. What gets them going here?
They actually encounter the Krill. They find some debris actually, and they find a ship that is disabled, and they capture the ship and they start studying some technology. And to make a long story short, they develop the ability to clone, like they have a holographic image that you can put over top of your entire body to make you look like a Krill. And they set up a mission where they're going to use this technology that they've just created to infiltrate a cruiser, and they're going to blow it up.
Yeah, they find the Krill blowing up like a colony on some planet. They show up there, and then they talk to them. They're like, "Stop shooting them." we order you. And then Kelly's like, how often does this actually work? And they stop shooting and they turn around. We see this shot of their ship is just like, the Orville is just like this big compared to this other ship. It's super tiny compared. And then they start shooting at them, and they have to do a bunch of fancy maneuvering and blow them up. But then they find that one of the ships is there, and that's the basic setup of that. They have a Krill ship, and then what you're saying there,
mostly intact. I think like the drive is disabled, but it's not completely destroyed. There's no bodies in it or anything. They actually find the ship, and it's the closest they've ever gotten to their technology, to the best of my knowledge. So it's a big find for them.
Yeah, they're like the most secret race in this world so far. Nobody knows anything about them. All they know is that they have this book on every ship, and that's the plot. They have to go get their Bible, the Arcana or something like that.
Yeah, the only thing this show's told you about them is they are the bad guy.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm glad they didn't keep it. They're just the bad guy throughout the whole episode. You get a little bit more, but then they're still true to life at the very, very end.
Yes.
And that's what I like about this episode so much. But yeah, they have those cloaking devices which turns them into Krill. Krill are like white creatures, and the men have little horns right here.
They look pretty cool. They remind me of some of the better stuff I've seen on like Deep Space Nine or like Voyager, like some of that really good TNG makeup that they had. There you go.
Yeah, it's cool looking.
They're pretty legit, man. I like the way they look. They look kind of like bearded dragons.
It's kind of cool because we get to see Seth MacFarlane and Scott Grimes.
Yes, this is the first time we've seen Seth MacFarlane in any kind of heavy makeup. Same with Grimes, and it was cool seeing these outfits. I gotta say, are fucking awesome. I love these costumes.
They're all
the way that they're built.
Yeah,
it looks like they're jacked up. Yeah, it looks like they're wearing like Marvel, DC type armor. You know what I mean? Like they spent some money on the makeup here in this episode. Yeah, and everybody's wearing this shit. I was looking for somebody wearing rubber masks. I didn't see any. I think everybody legit had makeup on.
It does. Yeah. That's good. So the men have like the horns. The women don't. Their heads are shaped a little bit different. The women kind of look like I don't know, like snake creatures. But
they actually said something kind of funny with those horns too. They're like, "Well, where were you guys?" "Well, we were sharpening our chin horns. We were waxing our chin horns."
Yeah.
I like that. That was pretty. They timed it just right. They didn't like. That's the thing that drives me nuts about the show is like it's cool to do a joke, but move on past it and keep going. Not say, "Hey, did you like that joke that we just said? Hey, let's talk about that some more and see if we can extend the joke." No,
because we didn't have Lamar there to go. Let's point that joke back out.
Yeah. See that dog licking his balls?
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I can stare at. Anyway, on the way over to the ship. While they're dressed as Krill, they play the same CCR song from the Twilight Zone movie intro. Do you remember? It's the same.
I was just thinking of that too when we were watching. It's like, it's the midnight special. Yeah. Shine a light on me. And the guy who plays Grimes actually does have a good voice too. I've heard him singing. It's something that he does. So.
The guy that plays Malloy, Scott Grimes?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he sings on American Dad, I'm like, holy shit, Duke. And that's doing a voice singing. I'm like, he can fucking sing.
He actually, and I'm not talking about this episode. In a later episode, he sings again, and he can hit them notes.
Yeah. He can get really high pitched in a weird voice and sing perfectly. It's kind of incredible because I can't. I have way too deep of a voice to hit any near.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like there's only certain octaves I can hit, and I don't attempt to try to I'm never going to do a fucking Joe Perry song ever in my whole life, or a fucking Freddie Mercury song. I know better, So.
Yeah, if I try to sing a Freddie Mercury song, that's going to be like a ship exploding on re-entry.
It's going to be me doing a very bad fake voice. Yeah.
It's going to get really whispery. I'm not going to get anywhere near it. Okay, they get aboard the ship. There's a little too much of this for my taste. There's a little too much of them talking like they're not really in the situation that they're in. Like they're trying to be aloof.
Yeah, they're padding. Yeah. It's definitely padding. Like they ran out of. We got to stretch this. Oh, they'll just do some talking on the ship.
But I would understand, like, they should try to be undercover, like they're trying to, because it's really, this episode ends up being like a spy movie is what they're doing. They're going there to infiltrate, like a Mission Impossible thing, and they're going there to get information. They're going to get the book, or take pictures of the book, which they end up doing, taking one at a time. But there's way
It's
too much
not
of that
even
going.
so much the journey there. It's just what they do with that time where they're
Yeah,
on that fucking ship. Because they've done that to death in Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, uh, Voyager, where they have conversations on the way there, but it's usually something important that they're going to pay off later.
yes,
In
but
this
this is.
particular case, it's just like, we got to waste some time between A and B. So
I
let's
don't
just
even mean the time
say
waste.
stuff.
I literally mean the way they're talking. They're not even trying to blend in. They're going, "Oh, I was out there, playing backgammon with," and they're like, "There's not." That's an example, but it's shit that's dumb. And I'm like, they're not going to fool anyone. But instead, nobody blinks an eye.
And they also mentioned like, oh, we should probably come up with some names. And I'm
Yeah,
like, you probably should have thought about that before you got onto the fucking spaceship and
it,
started heading towards the big spaceship. Like, you
it's like
probably should have filled in some backstories. Like, at this point, somebody on the ship would have arranged a dossier for you and faked a record and said, you are now this person.
yes.
If you really wanted to pull this shit off. But
It
this
seems
is the
like a really
Orville.
important mission that
Yeah.
like they're sending them there as diplomats, undercover diplomats. In case you get discovered, here's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to harm them. There's your backup plan. But instead, it's like there's a fucking gas leak on the Orville, and they're all really dumb. And it's like, oh shit, we should probably prepare something. It's like all the D- students going out on a rescue mission. It's so dumb. But it still didn't detract for me liking the episode. But
No.
they show up on the ship. They introduce themselves. They say their names are like Dust. I don't forget what the fuck their names were. Something starts with a D.
Devin and Chris.
Yeah, Devin and Chris.
Chris and
Like,
Devin, because they kind of did a little bit of a joke, like my name should be or something like that. Like they were trying to fucking do some kind of Klingon shit, and
Quinn
then
Faru.
ultimately they come up with Chris and Devin because
Yeah.
he's just Seth McFarlane. He's just gonna Chris, and
But
this
he's
is
just like,
Devin.
he's like, yeah, our ship got destroyed. Everyone but us. And he's like, everyone but you? That's weird because this is how the rest of the Krill talk. That's bizarre. How did you manage to survive? And they're like, yeah, we happened to be cleaning the shuttle, and it got blown up, and here we are. We're really mad about that. Oh, those Union guys. Oh, that's how they talk. And I'm like, can you try to blend in? I get the joke is that you're bad at that, but it goes on for the whole episode.
Again, this is kind of where the show is constantly wrestling between humor and wanting to be an intelligent science fiction, and it's these earlier episodes are proving that this is kind of hard, more difficult to do than you thought it would be. You know what I mean? At least from what we've seen so far.
Well, what he should have done is wrote a serious script, and then go back and go, where can I infuse some humor? But instead, he went, I want to write a funny show and sci-fi. Let's write that together.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you embrace the Star Trek, there's plenty of times where they tell jokes on regular Star Trek, and they work because they put them in at times to give you a little bit of a breathing room, relieve a little bit of tension, and also to develop characters to give people personalities.
Some sort of disconnect with the humor.
Something, yeah. It almost feels like they have a grocery list of they have to have X amount of jokes per episode, and they're just filling in the blanks. Like in a case like what we're just talking about, clearly they didn't care. It's like, well, we got to get the joke out of the way. So,
yeah,
I'm Chris, and this is Devin. If I would have wrote this, I'd have been like, I'm Chris, and this is Chris 2. That's what I would. It still would have sucked. Yeah.
Chris number 2 or Chris also.
Yeah, and then you could have played that off later on. It's like just plain Chris. Yeah.
Like, where's Chris? Oh, the other Chris. I don't know.
You mean Chris 2? Well, yes, Chris.
Chris
2. I mean Chris also. Yeah, you could have fucked with
2
that.
for Christopher. That's just an inside joke. Something I don't know. But,
hey, Seth, hit us up. We'll help you write some of these jokes for you, buddy. No problem.
But
we will expect to be paid though.
They go to a church, and then they sit there for the church thing, and then the guy in the front there, the I don't know, the priest, whatever you want to call him, is just like, here's what I have, and he goes to a box and he pulls out a human head, and then he starts just stabbing it 1,000 times, and they can't hide. Like, they're oh, and I'm like, how is nobody noticing them freaking out? It's too much of this going on. And it doesn't pay off.
No, It's
But
just
then
they're just jokes to hit the joke quota. Yeah,
I don't know if that was a joke. I think it was just
got a
for
joke meter. Joke, 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 joke.
And then they
Nope,
all
still need
leave.
some more. Keep
They
going.
go
Yeah.
back. They go back into the room with the book, and they start taking single pictures. And I was like, I was like, this is gonna take forever. That book is like, Stephen King's The Stand, the unabridged version, where it's 2,000 pages long. And this is gonna take forever. Don't they have a way of scanning the whole book in the future? Something. Take the fucking book and leave. But no, they
Duplicate it. Yeah, like scan it. This is the future, right? You could have came up with some kind of like, copy the DNA of the fucking thing and recreate it. I don't know. Just
yeah.
It would be the first time that a Star Trek type show has bullshitted its way through a plot using scientific devices.
You're hundreds of years in the future. Do whatever you want.
One more isn't going to hurt anybody at this point.
Yeah, you don't want to go too far because then you're a fantasy show. No.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. I have magical reading powers. I absorb the book. No. But they get caught.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, they get caught and they walk out of the room, and then the priest is suspicious, so he goes and talks to the captain of the ship and says he wants them tracked. They go in late at night to get more pictures of the book. Guard shows up. They sneak around, get some Scooby-Doo hijinks. And really, just the rest of the episode is they find a bomb. Their thing shut off, so they figure out that there's something outside in the exact same signal two floors below. They retune it, so they're Krill again. They go down, find out there's a massive fucking bomb there, and they're gonna blow up some colony with 100,000 people on it. You want to take over?
This is when the show starts getting interesting because they decide that they're going to ignite this bomb on the fucking ship, blow them all up. But they also say, "Hey, will you come in here for a second?" And they bring him into a room, and there's a room literally full of kids. Like they've got a school, like a classroom. One of the ladies that they befriend, it turns out she's actually a teacher. So these giant ships, like Star Trek Next Generation, have classrooms of kids, and they admit like instant regret. They're like, we can't blow up a bunch of fucking kids. I can't do this. So now we have a classic Star Trek style dilemma. What do you do?
It's set up really well, though. This is actually a version of a good setup on the show, which I want to definitely take a pause because we always trash on them for not doing good setups. So here we go. The kids, one of them goes, "Do humans have souls?" And the teacher's like, "Definitely not. There's no souls there." So that's what Mercer's motivation is. I don't want to blow up these kids because I have a soul. I don't want to fucking just kill these kids because that sets a really bad example. And that pays off even further in the very end because it's like, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. They're still going to see you that way. But sorry. Just want to interrupt to say that.
No, go ahead. You're doing a better job than I was with this because I enjoyed this part of the episode. Once they finally got onto the ship and they started getting past all the jokey joke shit and they started getting into actual plot. And the Krill characters are interesting as fuck on the show. They're very well portrayed. They have their own. They set up their society nice. They explain that the reason that their pigment is light as it is because their planet is entirely engulfed in darkness the entire year, like every day of the year. So they're very sensitive to sunlight and light as it be because the ship is kind of darkened. And I just assumed that it was just kind of darkened because they always did that on Star Trek. Every time they go on the Klingon ships, it's always like dark and grimy in there. It doesn't look very clean, like they're not
random lights and weird.
Like the complete opposite of Starfleet. Starfleet's always like really white, and they probably wash the place 6 times a day, and then you go on this Klingon ship, and it's like there's probably a fucking human house. Head laying. Yeah, it's like a haunted house. Yeah. So, it's just, we're back in Klingon territory. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but the look of the ship. The first half of this episode, I was like, oh, okay, and I'm like kind of waiting for. I'm like, oh, going along for the ride, and then it starts introducing all this stuff. Like about the time you start taking pictures of the Bible, is when I started to get interested. I'm like, all right, they're doing something. Oh, it's like a spy movie. Okay, that's what they're doing. And then it's this moral dilemma, which is always going to be the best setup for an episode of this type of show. Moral
We
dilemma.
can never get enough moral dilemmas. We
Nope.
love the fucking moral dilemma. That's why we watch these kind of shows, because
Yes.
we want to see them overcome adversity through teamwork. And how do you achieve a moral dilemma, and who's right and who's wrong in these situations? And,
Yeah.
especially when you can see it from both angles, because like you said, well, they don't have any souls. It's like, well, that kind of fits, because throughout this entire series so far, we don't know shit about the Krill except they're the ugly bad guys.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out they see us exactly the same fucking way, which is totally accurate and appropriate.
That's it. They did it exactly how they should have. I have zero complaints about how they set up the Krill and how that all pays off. And I'm really looking forward to finding out what happens with the Krill based on the last thing the woman says. They
made them an interesting species, other than just this is the throwaway villain in this universe.
Yeah. They're aboard the ship, like we said. They realize they go in another room and they're talking. And they're like, "What the hell are we gonna do? Like, we can't just kill all these kids." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's 100,000 people." He's like, "We got to come up with something else." And they kind of do the sci-fi tech babble where it's, if this is turning off our thing, our cloaking device as in this frequency, can we reverse that? He's like, overload the power unit and blow the bomb up on the ship. We can do that from the escape ship that we took here. That's all set up. They realize they can change the lights, because that's when he starts to kind of realize they're white because they have zero pigment. He's explaining it to a child that snuck into the room.
They're overly sensitive to light.
Yeah. And then they're going to overload the lights. Only thing is they don't want to kill the kids. So he comes up with a plan to get the kids in the room. He's going to go in there and destroy the light. He goes to do that, and Mercer does. And then Malloy goes, and he's going to... Fuck, I don't know what he's doing, honestly. He gets caught, though. That's all I know.
Yeah, the plan that they come up with is they're rather than blow them all up, they're gonna burn them with a light.
Yeah.
And then protect kids, burn everybody else, pretty much. Like,
he's like, worst we get is a sunburn.
Yep. They get a sunburn. They won't die, but they'll be disoriented long enough to where they can, pull this thing off. So,
yeah.
The whole point is they don't want to blow everybody up, So
yeah, because the kids, why bother? But they're not our enemy yet. They will be. But Mercer goes into the classroom. She was just about to dismiss the class. He's like, no, stay here. I need to talk to you. And then Malloy gets caught by the captain, takes him there to the bridge. And then they do the light thing. And then it burns everyone alive, burns all the Krill alive. Just gives Scott Grimes' character just a red glow.
They're vampire hunters. We're vampire hunters. I do remember that line, because it was that didn't bother me. Yeah,
it's Blade.
That was a joke that actually worked. Yeah,
the UV lights from Blade, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it works because they all burn and then they turn black and they're dead, and then the kids are safe. Just cuts to the Orville, and then Kelly's talking to the teacher lady. I don't remember her name. Doesn't matter. And then they're like, all right, the kids are all safe. And then Mercer comes into the room and she's like, I can't believe you have the balls to face me, or the guts to face me. He makes them all leave. And he's just a couple lines. He's like, don't be mad. She's like, where are the kids? And he goes, oh, they're safe. They're going to be sent back to their parents on Krill. And I was like, or their home, or what the fuck it's called. And I was like, wouldn't their parents have been on that ship? Now they're all dead. Is it just a ship of warriors?
I don't know. They kind of glossed over that, yeah. And I didn't even really think of it until you mentioned something now. So I would think that they'd all, if it's like the Enterprise, I hate to keep comparing to Star Trek, but it is fucking Star Trek, so you have to. But are they on the ship with the kids? You just send these kids off by themselves onto a ship to teach them? Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. So. But then go ahead. No, go ahead. No, the teacher's like, why didn't you kill us? And he goes, they're children and they're not our enemy. She goes, I love this line. I forget the exact line, but she basically just goes, they're not going to be happy with the Union. They're going to remember this forever. Basically saying, yes, you saved these kids, but you've created an even stronger enemy now with these kids once they grow up.
He said they're not our enemies, and then she just looks at him real serious and says they will be. And it ends on that note. And it's weird because she kind of says it the same way that Yoda said it in Empire Strikes Back. And I know that was a callback, and it was a clever one because it ends on that line. So it's like you've ended your comedy sci-fi show on a serious tone, which teases for more and better stuff because this is what we like. Like, we don't mind a little bit of comedy here and there as long as it's more about where you use it, you know,
Yeah.
and how you use it. And what we're coming for is we want the fucking story. We want the moral dilemma. And that's why I was excited to do this show with you, because I had warned you, first couple episodes are going to piss you off, and then it gets way better, you know, because it does. There's an episode coming up here real soon that I'm dying to talk to you about, and I'm not going to tell you any fucking thing about it. And I don't want you to look up anything about it because it's going to spoil everything. I want you to just go in as blind as possible. Yeah, this is one of those, if you look up any of episode 7 at all, it will spoil it for you. You just go in as blind as possible.
All I do, I don't want to know anything about the plots ahead of time. I just turn on the episode and I watch it, and then halfway through, I will look at the rating, or I don't know. Yeah. This time I didn't look up anything. I just took my notes and then I look it up now. When I did my ratings before we start recording.
But it's been hit or miss on the show, and it's just like we either love it or it's like eh. You know what I mean? Like none of it's like really just like, oh god, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. You know,
I haven't hated an episode yet. The pilot was the weakest one so far, and then
pilot was weak, and the last one we did was not very good.
Yeah,
I wasn't crazy about that, but I didn't hate it. It was just flat. It didn't resonate. There wasn't anything memorable about it. But yeah, this one, if I had to give this one a score, I'd say 7 out of 10. If I was doing the cheese curd scale, probably a 3 out of 5. I really liked it. There are better ones than this one, but I did like the story and I like the moral dilemma, and I'm anxious to see, like you, more of the Krill. I like what they're doing with this species. You know, it's like they're giving them the same life that the Klingons had, but I think the Klingons on this show are Bortus' species.
Yeah.
So this is somebody completely different. This is like a new kind of a villain, and there's all kinds of uncharted waters that you can go with this fucking species too. Like there's a lot of really good writing you can do it if you revisit this. So
they look more like the Klingons, but they act more like.
They actually remind me of one of the species of the Dominion from Deep Space Nine. They had the Dominion on there, and I can't remember exactly which ones they were, because the Dominion is actually made up of 3 different species.
Kind of Romulan.
One of them, not the Romulans. No, this is. And I'll find out in a second here, because I just watched that not too long ago.
Let me finish. I'll do my score stuff.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
I did give it a little more credit for how well they set up the Krill. I gave it an 8. So on yours, I'll give it a 4. I really do like this episode, but the problem is there's way too much of that bad undercover talk for me. It kind of ruined the beginning part. If this had as solid as a beginning as it did the second half, I would have probably given this a 9 or 10. But if you're looking at it as just the second half of the episode, it saved the whole fucking episode for me. It was so good, the ending. I really did enjoy this. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's the Jem'Hadar. That's what I was trying to remember, because the Dominion are made up of 3 different species. You've got the shapeshifters who run everything. The Jem'Hadar are pretty much the foot soldiers, and then you've got the kind of elf-like creatures that are played by Jeffrey Combs. They kind of call the shots. They're like the middle management. So these guys are the grunts because they're bred specifically to kill, and they have a very short lifespan. Like they live like maybe 10 years tops, and they're controlled by drugs. They use drugs to. They're dependent on a fucking drug, and if they're denied that drug, they literally can't even function. So they use these drugs to control this entire species. But
like
these Jem'Hadars right here remind me of the Krill. They look similar. Yeah.
Get them hooked on the smack. They'll do whatever you want.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, they're all hooked on smack. It was a really cool idea for a villain that hadn't been done yet. So, but I'm anxious to see what they do with the Krill. We've gotten a taste of it. This is a pretty good setup episode for a villain that we know virtually nothing about, and I'm anxious to see where that goes.
Yeah, so. I probably like that other episode more. I already forgot what it's called. The one with oh my god, I'm blanking on everything right now.
It's been a while since we did an episode.
Bortus' people. I like that episode more. Probably
that was called About a Girl. Yeah,
I like that episode more.
Yes, I do too. That one is I rank a lot higher than this one because I think so. Of what's come out so far, that one was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it the same score, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I should give this a 7, but I'm sticking with 8 because I like the second half and I like the setup of Krill so
Stick to
well.
your guns. It was the first number that popped in my head. I'm like, it's a 7. It could have been a little better in spots, but I liked what they had. I liked that we at least got a moral dilemma. It took a while to get there, but it was still there, and I appreciate it for all it is. You know, a lot of fans say the same thing, and I'm going to echo what they say. The show's better when it's being Star Trek.
Yeah.
When it's trying to be Family Guy or American Dad, it just kind of doesn't really work.
Let those jokes be on your joke shows.
Yeah. It's okay to have those jokes, but it doesn't have to be the focus of your, you know, because what it does is it confuses, because it's like you want to go one way and then you got this thing distracting you, and it's like, well, am I supposed to do that? You know what I'm saying? I think what he wants to do is he wants to be John Landis, and John Landis pulled it off perfectly with American Werewolf in London. Not everybody's as clever as John Landis is. You know what I mean? Like, only he knew the right balance between horror and comedy. Now you're trying to do sci-fi and comedy, and it's like you want to have that balance, but clearly you're not that talented to get there yet. So it's like you need to commit to one thing or another. He doesn't have that balance. You need to have more serious and less jokes, which would make it more Star Trek. Yeah.
Like, you can use a sitcom to land really heavy dramatic moments. Like Roseanne did that perfectly, the original show.
You know, another one that did some really heavy issues too was Prince of Bel-Air. Fresh Prince used to have a fucking moral lesson every week, and they had some really heavy ones on there. You know?
Yeah, and also Scrubs had some, and that's just a joke show. And then suddenly you'd be like, "Oh my god, what the fuck!" Like,
All in the Family, which was fucking steeped in politics, and that was real popular for a long time because it hit everything. It dove headfirst into the politics and was successful. You know, so.
But you have to set up your characters for enough time, and then you get the dramatic moments. This show, the first half of the episode is all the jokes. The second half is all the serious resolution, and it almost feels like the episode begins halfway through for these episodes, which sucks.
Yeah, it's like it's the result of two different things. It's like either it's like being in a relationship with somebody who can't commit. You know what I mean? It's like you can't seem to get enough of one thing. You know what I mean? It's like either commit to the comedy and call it a comedy, or commit to the science fiction. I get you want to be clever science fiction, and I like some of these story plots. They're good. Even if they're stories that we've heard before, you can still be clever with it, like this one. It's good. You know what I mean? So,
would it surprise you to find out Seth MacFarlane did not write this episode?
Not one bit. Because the last one, it didn't surprise me one bit when you said Seth MacFarlane wrote that. I'm like, that explains a lot. This is gratuitous. Seth MacFarlane at his worst. Like,
and this one had a joke later on where Scott Grimes gets stabbed in the leg by the people that capture him, and he goes, "Oh, that's a new leg," and I laughed, and I was like, they did a callback
because it's a nice callback, and they didn't have to like drive it any farther than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, it's a new leg. You messed up a perfectly good new leg.
And they moved on. But great episode, and I'm looking forward to future Krill episodes, like we said. This is a good, I don't know, say Bible, but it's a good universe expanding episode, and I want to see where this goes with this. I want to see where our crew goes from learning about this. And I like the fact that they left it on a really sour note. He didn't go, I have a soul, and that's why I didn't
care. No, we didn't do the Friday the 13th, the series thing where we had to end on it on a lame joke, you know.
Not even a joke, just him explaining why he did what he did. Instead, he just stares at her like, "Oh, you bitch, you're still going to come after us." It doesn't matter what I say right now. It's just sour, the ending. And it's
do like the Andy Sedaris thing where they always end on a champagne toast, you know.
All right, let's get out of here, Adam.
Yep.
Good episode. I will just say liwstudios.com for me.
raidersofthelostflicks.com for me. Raiders Lost Flicks on YouTube. Raiders_OTLF on Twitter. If you want to give me a follow.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. So until next time, in the meantime, I'm Phoenix West.
I'm Adam Wilcox.
So long, citizens. So long, Krill. Should have killed
so long, Orville.
We're halfway through season 1.
And there's the best is yet to come.
Podcast is over. live show ending.